Hello there, and welcome to the Mind Whisper channel. Tonight, we embark on a fascinating journey into one of the most profound discoveries in modern neuroscience: the intricate, undeniable connection between your brain and your body. For centuries, philosophers and scientists have pondered the relationship between mind and matter, between thought and flesh. But only recently have we begun to understand just how deeply these two realms are intertwined, woven together in ways that blur the very distinction between them. What we'll explore tonight isn't abstract philosophy. It's grounded in cutting-edge research from neuroscience laboratories, psychology departments, and medical centers around the world. We'll discover how your thoughts can literally reshape your immune system, how the bacteria in your gut communicate directly with your brain, how a simple change in posture can alter your mood, and how your heartbeat influences the way you perceive the world. Each revelation opens a window into the remarkable integration of mind and body, challenging everything we thought we knew about the boundaries of self. This journey will take us down neural pathways you've never consciously felt, through chemical messengers coursing through your bloodstream, and into the quiet dialogue between organs you've never thought about. We'll meet the vagus nerve, a wandering highway of information stretching from your brainstem to your abdomen. We'll visit the mysterious world of interoception, the eighth sense that lets you feel what's happening inside your body. We'll explore how your gut microbiome, that vast community of bacteria in your intestines, produces neurotransmitters that shape your thoughts and feelings. The story we're about to tell isn't just scientifically fascinating, it's deeply personal. Because understanding the brain-body connection means understanding yourself in a new way. It means recognizing that when you feel a knot in your stomach before a presentation, when your shoulders tighten during stress, when a deep breath brings unexpected calm, these aren't separate experiences. They're all part of one integrated system, a continuous conversation between brain and body that shapes every moment of your conscious life. So settle in somewhere comfortable. Let your breathing find its natural rhythm. Allow your mind to open to these ideas as they unfold. And if you enjoy these explorations into the mysteries of psychology and neuroscience, please consider liking and subscribing to join us for more journeys into the hidden workings of the mind. But for now, let's begin our descent into the beautiful complexity of the brain-body connection. Deep within your body runs a nerve unlike any other. The vagus nerve, whose name comes from the Latin word for wandering, is the longest cranial nerve in your entire nervous system. It emerges from your brainstem, winds down through your neck, and branches out to touch nearly every major organ in your chest and abdomen. Your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your intestines, even your liver and kidneys all receive direct neural connections from this remarkable structure. But here's what makes the vagus nerve truly extraordinary. For decades, scientists assumed it was primarily a one-way street, carrying commands from the brain down to the body. The brain, they thought, was the commander, sending orders to organs below. What researchers have discovered in recent years turns this assumption on its head. The vagus nerve is actually about 80% sensory, meaning that most of its fibers carry information upward from your body to your brain, not downward. Your organs are constantly talking to your brain, and the vagus nerve is their primary channel of communication. Think about what this means. Every moment of every day, your heart is sending signals about its rhythm and rate. Your lungs are reporting on breathing patterns. Your stomach and intestines are transmitting information about digestion, about nutrients, about the state of your gut. All of this information flows upward through the vagus nerve, arriving at your brainstem and being distributed to various brain regions. This stream of bodily data doesn't just update your brain about physical functions. It fundamentally shapes your emotional state, your mood, your stress levels, even your social behavior. The vagus nerve is intimately involved in what neuroscientists call the rest and digest response, the counterpart to the famous fight or flight reaction. When you're relaxed, when you feel safe, when you're in a state of calm connection, your vagus nerve activity increases. It slows your heart rate, deepens your breathing, promotes digestion, and sends calming signals throughout your body. People with higher vagal tone, meaning more active vagus nerves, tend to be more resilient to stress, more emotionally stable, and better able to regulate their feelings. But the vagus nerve's influence goes far beyond simple relaxation. It plays a crucial role in something called the social engagement system. Neuroscientist Stephen Porges has shown that the vagus nerve connects to the muscles of your face and throat, the ones you use for facial expression and vocal communication. When your vagus nerve is active and healthy, you're better able to read other people's emotions, to communicate effectively, to feel socially connected. In contrast, when vagal tone is low, people often feel more isolated, more anxious, more defensive. This connection between the vagus nerve and social behavior reveals something profound about human evolution. We are fundamentally social creatures, and our nervous systems evolved to support connection and cooperation. The vagus nerve serves as a biological bridge between our internal bodily states and our external social world. When we feel safe in our bodies, we're more open to connection. When we feel connected to others, our bodies relax. It's a feedback loop that reinforces the inseparability of physical and emotional well-being. The therapeutic implications are remarkable. Researchers have found that stimulating the vagus nerve, either electrically or through behavioral techniques, can help treat a wide range of conditions: depression, anxiety, inflammatory disorders, epilepsy, even chronic pain have shown improvement with vagal nerve stimulation. But you don't need medical devices to influence your vagus nerve. Simple practices like slow, deep breathing, humming or singing, cold water exposure on your face, and gentle massage of the neck can all increase vagal tone. There's something deeply beautiful about this. A single nerve wandering through your body serves as a living reminder that you are not a brain trapped in a body, or a body controlled by a brain. You are an integrated whole, a unified system where physical sensations and mental states flow into each other seamlessly. The vagus nerve is like a telephone line connecting different parts of yourself, allowing them to stay in constant communication, ensuring that no part operates in isolation. As research continues, scientists are discovering even more functions of the vagus nerve. It appears to play a role in memory formation, particularly emotional memories. It influences inflammation throughout the body through what's called the inflammatory reflex. It affects how we perceive pain and pleasure. It may even be involved in intuition, that gut feeling that something is right or wrong, by relaying subtle bodily signals that our conscious mind interprets as hunches or instincts. The next time you take a deep, slow breath and feel yourself relax, know that you're directly influencing your vagus nerve. When you feel your heart rate slow, when tension melts from your shoulders, when a sense of calm washes over you, part of what you're experiencing is increased vagal tone. Your brain and body are coming into harmony, communicating more clearly, working together as the integrated system they were always meant to be. In the 1970s, a young graduate student named Robert Arder made a discovery that would revolutionize medicine. He was studying taste aversion in rats, teaching them to avoid saccharin-flavored water by pairing it with a drug that suppressed their immune systems. What happened next surprised everyone. Even after he stopped giving the rats the immune-suppressing drug, the saccharin-flavored water alone continued to suppress their immune function. The rats had learned to weaken their own immune systems through psychological conditioning. This finding was so controversial that many scientists initially refused to believe it. The immune system, they insisted, was autonomous, independent of the brain and mind. But Ada persisted, collaborating with immunologist Nicholas Cohen to establish a new field, psychoneuroimmunology, the study of how psychological processes influence the nervous system and immune system. What began as a curious anomaly has grown into one of the most important areas in health research, revealing intricate connections between mental states and physical immunity. Today, we know that the relationship between mind and immunity is far more extensive than anyone imagined. Your immune cells are covered with receptors for neurotransmitters and hormones produced by your brain and nervous system. When you experience stress, your adrenal glands release cortisol, which travels through your bloodstream and binds to immune cells, altering their behavior. When you feel joy or contentment, different chemical messengers are released, influencing immune function in different ways. Your thoughts and emotions are literally communicating with the cells that defend you against disease. The effects are not subtle. Research has shown that chronic psychological stress can measurably suppress immune function. People under high stress are more susceptible to infections, slower to heal from wounds, and show reduced responses to vaccines. In one striking study, researchers gave volunteers nasal drops containing cold viruses. Those who reported high levels of psychological stress were significantly more likely to develop colds than those with lower stress, even though everyone received the same viral exposure. The mind's influence on immunity was strong enough to determine who got sick and who stayed healthy. But the connection runs both ways. Just as your mind can influence your immune system profoundly affects your mind. When you're fighting an infection, your immune cells produce signaling molecules called cytokines. These cytokines travel through your bloodstream and cross into your brain, where they trigger what's known as sickness behavior. You feel tired, withdrawn, unmotivated. Your mood drops. You lose interest in food and social interaction. You want nothing more than to curl up and rest. For decades, these symptoms were considered side effects of being sick, unpleasant but unimportant. Now we understand they're deliberate strategies orchestrated by your immune system. By making you tired and antisocial, cytokines force you to rest and conserve energy, directing your body's resources toward fighting infection. By reducing appetite, they prevent nutrients from being diverted to digestion. By lowering mood, they discourage you from engaging in activities that might waste precious immune resources. Your immune system is hijacking your psychology to optimize your survival. This discovery has profound implications for understanding mental health. Researchers have found that many people with depression show elevated levels of inflammatory cytokines, the same molecules produced during infection. Some cases of depression may actually be driven by chronic, low-grade inflammation. This helps explain why anti-inflammatory treatments sometimes reduce depressive symptoms, and why people with inflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis have higher rates of depression. The boundary between physical and mental illness dissolves when we understand that inflammation in the body can directly cause changes in mood and cognition. The positive side of this connection is equally important. Positive emotional states, social connection, and psychological well-being can enhance immune function. People who report greater life satisfaction show stronger immune responses. Those with rich social networks have been shown to be more resistant to infections. Practices like meditation and mindfulness, which reduce stress and promote calm, have been linked to improved immune markers. Even simple acts of kindness and gratitude appear to benefit immune function through pathways we're only beginning to understand. One particularly fascinating area of research involves the placebo effect and immunity. When people believe they're receiving immune-boosting treatments, even if they're actually taking sugar pills, their immune systems often respond anyway. The mere expectation of improved immunity can trigger real physiological changes. This isn't mind over matter in some mystical sense. It's the brain using its extensive neural and hormonal connections to the immune system to create the expected result. The mind and immune system are so integrated that beliefs and expectations can become self-fulfilling prophecies. The field of psychoneuroimmunology continues to expand, revealing new connections and mechanisms. Researchers are exploring how childhood experiences shape immune function across the lifespan. They're investigating why some people develop autoimmune diseases where the immune system attacks the body. They're looking at how trauma and chronic stress might accelerate aging by affecting immune cells. Each study reinforces the same fundamental truth. Your immune system is not separate from your nervous system or your mind. They're all parts of one integrated defense network, working together to keep you healthy and alive. Understanding this connection empowers us to support our health in new ways. Managing stress isn't just good for mental health. It's essential for physical immunity. Cultivating positive emotions and social connections isn't mere self-indulgence, it's immune support. Taking care of your psychological well-being is taking care of your body's ability to fight disease. In the integrated system of mind and body, every choice ripples outward, affecting multiple systems at once. You're familiar with your 5 external senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. You may even know about proprioception, your sense of where your body parts are in space, and your vestibular sense, which detects balance and motion. But there's another sense, perhaps the most important of all, that most people have never heard of. It's called interoception, and it's your brain's ability to sense what's happening inside your body. Every moment, signals are streaming from your internal organs to your brain. Your heart reports its rhythm and strength. Your lungs signal their expansion and contraction. Your stomach and intestines communicate about fullness, hunger, and digestion. Your bladder announces its volume. Your muscles report their tension and fatigue. Blood vessels transmit information about pressure and temperature. All of this data flows into your brain through dedicated neural pathways, creating a continuous internal perception of your body's state. For most people, interoception operates largely beneath conscious awareness. You don't consciously feel every heartbeat or every breath unless you direct attention toward them. But this doesn't mean interoceptive signals aren't influencing you. They form the background sensation we call our general state of being, that vague but powerful feeling of being energized or tired, calm or agitated, comfortable or distressed. Interoception is the foundation upon which all your emotions are built. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio has proposed that emotions are fundamentally based on body states. When something happens in your environment, your body responds first, physiologically, before you're consciously aware of feeling anything. Your heart might speed up, your muscles might tense, your breathing might quicken. Your brain then senses these bodily changes through interoception and interprets them as an emotion. Fear, Damasio suggests, is what you feel when your brain detects the bodily pattern associated with threat. Joy is what happens when your brain senses the bodily pattern of safety and reward. This theory, called the somatic marker hypothesis, suggests that all decision-making and reasoning are guided by emotional signals that are themselves based on bodily states. When you have a gut feeling about something, you're literally feeling your gut, sensing interoceptive signals that your brain has learned to associate with good or bad outcomes. Those people who seem to have great intuition aren't magically perceiving external information. They're simply better at noticing and interpreting their own interoceptive signals. Individual differences in interoceptive awareness are enormous. Some people are highly attuned to their internal states, able to accurately detect subtle changes in heartbeat, breathing, or bodily tension. Others are less aware, sometimes to the point of alexithymia, difficulty identifying and describing their own emotions. Research suggests that greater interoceptive awareness is associated with better emotional regulation, stronger sense of self, and more adaptive decision-making. People who can accurately sense their body states are better equipped to understand and manage their emotions. The neural basis of interoception has been mapped in increasing detail. Signals from the body first arrive at the brainstem and then travel to a region called the insula, a fold of cortex deep within the brain. The insula integrates interoceptive information and plays a crucial role in creating conscious feelings. From there, signals spread to areas involved in emotion, decision-making, and self-awareness. Damage to these interoceptive pathways can result in profound changes to emotional life and sense of self. Interestingly, meditation and mindfulness practices appear to enhance interoceptive awareness. When you sit quietly and direct attention to your breath, to sensations in your body, to your heartbeat, you're training your interoceptive system. Over time, this training can increase activity in the insula and improve your ability to sense and interpret bodily signals. This may be one reason why meditation is so effective for emotional regulation. It's not just calming the body, it's improving the brain's ability to sense and respond to bodily states. Interoception also plays a critical role in psychological disorders. People with anxiety often have heightened interoceptive sensitivity, particularly to signals of threat like increased heart rate or breathing difficulty. This can create a vicious cycle where noticing bodily arousal triggers more anxiety, which creates more arousal, which is noticed and interpreted as danger. Understanding this cycle can help break it, teaching people to observe bodily sensations without catastrophic interpretation. Depression, conversely, is sometimes associated with blunted interoception. People may feel numb, disconnected from their bodies, unable to sense pleasure or pain as intensely. Therapies that focus on reconnecting with bodily sensations, like body scan meditation or somatic therapies, can sometimes help people with depression begin to feel again, to rebuild the interoceptive pathways that connect them to their emotional lives. One of the most profound implications of interoception is what it tells us about the nature of self. When you think about who you are, you probably focus on your thoughts, memories, and personality. But neuroscientists increasingly believe that the deepest, most fundamental sense of self comes from interoception. You are the organism sensing itself from within. The continuous feeling of being you, of existing as an embodied entity, arises from the brain's ongoing perception of the body's internal state. Without interoception, there might be no sense of self at all. This suggests something beautiful and humbling. Your consciousness, your sense of being a unique individual, is rooted in your body. It emerges from the ceaseless conversation between brain and body, from the streams of sensory information flowing from organs to awareness and back again. You are not a mind inhabiting a body. You are a body that has become aware of itself, a living system that senses its own existence from the inside. Interoception is the process by which physical matter becomes subjective experience, how flesh becomes feeling. Wrapped around your intestines, embedded in the walls of your digestive system, is a network of neurons so extensive that it's sometimes called the second brain. The enteric nervous system, as scientists call it, contains roughly 500 million neurons, more than in your spinal cord. These neurons control digestion, of course, but they do much more. They communicate constantly with your brain, sending signals that influence mood, behavior, and mental health in ways that are only now being understood. The connection between gut and brain is bidirectional and intimate. When you feel nervous and get butterflies in your stomach, that's your brain sending signals down to your gut through neural and hormonal pathways. When you eat something that disagrees with you and feel unsettled or upset, that's your gut sending signals up to your brain. This two-way communication happens constantly, mediated by the vagus nerve, hormones, immune signals, and even the substances produced by bacteria living in your intestines. Yes, bacteria. Your gut contains trillions of microorganisms, collectively called the microbiome, representing thousands of different species. For a long time, these were considered mere passengers, digesting food and maybe producing some vitamins. But research over the past 2 decades has revealed that the gut microbiome is a crucial part of the brain-body connection. These bacteria produce neurotransmitters, influence immune function, and send signals that affect brain development, mood, and behavior. Consider this remarkable fact. Most of the serotonin in your body, around 90%, is produced in your gut, not your brain. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter famously associated with mood regulation, the target of most antidepressant medications. While gut-produced serotonin doesn't directly cross into the brain, it influences the vagus nerve and the enteric nervous system, which then sends signals upward to the brain. Your gut's chemical environment is constantly shaping your emotional state. The bacteria in your intestines produce many other neuroactive compounds. They manufacture gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. They produce dopamine, associated with motivation and reward. They create short-chain fatty acids that can cross into the brain and affect neural function. They influence the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein crucial for brain health and neuroplasticity. In essence, your gut microbiome is a chemical factory whose products shape your mental life. Research has shown that the composition of your gut microbiome can influence anxiety and depression. In animal studies, mice raised without any gut bacteria show altered stress responses and abnormal behavior. When these germ-free mice receive microbiome transplants from anxious animals, they become more anxious themselves. When they receive microbiomes from calm animals, they become calmer. The bacteria in the gut are literally transmitting behavioral traits. In humans, the evidence is accumulating. People with depression and anxiety often show different gut microbiome compositions compared to healthy individuals. Certain bacterial species are associated with better mental health, while others are more common in people with psychological disorders. Some researchers are exploring whether probiotics, supplements containing beneficial bacteria, might serve as a new form of psychiatric treatment, what they're calling psychobiotics. The gut-brain connection also helps explain why diet has such profound effects on mental health. What you eat doesn't just fuel your body, it feeds your microbiome. Different foods promote the growth of different bacterial species. A diet high in fiber, for example, feeds beneficial bacteria that produce anti-inflammatory compounds and mood-supporting neurotransmitters. A diet high in processed foods and sugar can promote the growth of bacteria associated with inflammation and poor mental health. This is why the Mediterranean diet, rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and healthy fats, has been linked to lower rates of depression. It's why nutritional psychiatry, the study of how diet affects mental health, has become a rapidly growing field. Food is information, not just in terms of calories and nutrients. but in terms of what signals it sends through the gut-brain axis. Every meal is a message to your microbiome, which then translates that message into signals that reach your brain. The gut also plays a crucial role in the immune system. About 70% of your immune cells reside in or near your digestive tract, where they interact constantly with the bacteria of your microbiome. This interaction shapes immune function throughout your body and brain. When the gut becomes inflamed, perhaps due to poor diet or bacterial imbalance, inflammatory signals can travel through the bloodstream and affect brain function, potentially contributing to depression, anxiety, and cognitive problems. This helps explain the strong association between inflammatory bowel diseases and mental health conditions. People with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis have much higher rates of depression and anxiety than the general population. For decades, this was attributed to the psychological burden of dealing with a chronic illness. But now we understand that the inflammation in the gut is directly affecting the brain through immune and neural pathways. The mental symptoms aren't just a reaction to being sick. They're a direct consequence of gut inflammation reaching the brain. The therapeutic implications are profound. Healing the gut may be an essential part of healing the mind. Reducing gut inflammation, supporting a healthy microbiome, addressing food sensitivities, all of these become relevant, not just for digestive health, but for mental well-being. The ancient intuition that gut health and overall health are connected turns out to be neurobiologically accurate. Your gut is indeed connected to everything else, especially your brain. Looking forward, the gut-brain axis represents one of the most exciting frontiers in neuroscience and psychology. Researchers are working to identify specific bacterial species that support mental health, developing new probiotic treatments, and exploring how early life experiences with food and antibiotics might shape brain development through effects on the microbiome. Each discovery reinforces a simple but revolutionary idea. You are not just your brain. You are a complex ecosystem, and the bacteria in your gut are part of who you are, shaping your thoughts, feelings, and behavior in ways that dissolve the boundary between self and not self. For most of the 20th century, cognitive scientists treated the mind like a computer program running on the hardware of the brain. The body, in this view, was just an input-output device, gathering sensory information and executing motor commands, but not really involved in thinking itself. Cognition, they believed, happened in the brain, particularly in the cortex, with the body merely serving as its peripheral device. This assumption has been overturned by a new framework called embodied cognition. The revolutionary claim is simple but profound. Thinking is not confined to the brain. Your body is actively involved in cognition. The way you move, your posture, your gestures, the state of your muscles and organs, all of these shape how you think, remember, solve problems, and understand the world. Cognition is embodied, grounded in the physical experience of having a body. The evidence for embodied cognition comes from hundreds of experiments showing surprising connections between body and mind. One of the most famous findings involves the relationship between posture and emotion. When people are asked to sit in an upright, expansive posture with shoulders back and head up, they report feeling more confident and powerful. Their bodies produce more testosterone and less cortisol. They're more willing to take risks and perform better on challenging tasks. Conversely, when people slouch with shoulders hunched and head down, they report feeling less confident and show hormonal changes associated with submission and stress. What's remarkable is that these postural changes affect emotion and cognition, even when people aren't aware of them. The body isn't just expressing an emotion that already exists in the mind. It's creating that emotion through feedback to the brain. When you stand tall, your interoceptive system senses an upright, open body posture and interprets this as a signal of confidence and power. The resulting feeling then influences your thoughts and behavior. Your body is literally thinking through its position in space. Gestures are another example of embodied cognition. When people talk, they naturally gesture with their hands. For a long time, these gestures were considered mere decoration, extra communication added to speech. But research shows that gestures are actually part of the thinking process itself. When people are prevented from gesturing, their ability to think about spatial relationships and to solve certain types of problems decreases. The hands aren't just expressing thoughts, they're helping to generate and organize them. Children learning math benefit from using their fingers to count, not just as a crutch, but as a genuine aid to understanding. The physical manipulation of fingers helps create neural representations of numbers. Brain imaging studies show that even in adults, regions involved in finger movement are activated during mathematical thinking, suggesting that our understanding of numbers remains grounded in the embodied experience of counting on fingers. Facial expressions provide another window into embodied cognition. The facial feedback hypothesis proposes that your facial expressions influence your emotions, not just reflect them. When you smile, the contraction of facial muscles sends signals to your brain that are interpreted as happiness, which then creates genuine feelings of joy. Studies have confirmed this. People who hold pens in their teeth, forcing their face into a smile shape, find cartoons funnier than people who hold pens in their lips, forcing a frown. This doesn't mean you can cure depression by smiling, but it does mean that body states have real, measurable effects on emotional experience. The relationship between mind and body is bidirectional. Just as your emotions create bodily expressions, your bodily expressions can influence your emotions. You are not just a brain having experiences, you are an embodied system where mind and body continuously shape each other. Temperature provides a particularly striking example of embodied cognition. Studies have found that physical warmth influences social perception and behavior. People holding a cup of hot coffee judge others as warmer and more trustworthy than people holding iced coffee. Physical warmth makes people feel more socially connected and behave more generously. This happens because our concepts of social warmth and physical warmth are connected in the brain, sharing neural circuitry developed early in life when physical warmth from caregivers was associated with social connection and safety. Similarly, physical cleanliness affects moral judgment. People who have just washed their hands judge moral transgressions less harshly than those with unwashed hands. The concept of moral purity is grounded in the bodily experience of physical cleanliness. This is why so many languages use cleanliness metaphors for morality: clean conscience, dirty deeds, washed away sins. These aren't just poetic expressions. They reflect how moral concepts are built from bodily experiences. Embodied cognition extends to abstract thinking. When people think about the future, their bodies tend to lean forward slightly. When thinking about the past, they lean backward. When considering positive concepts, people pull objects toward themselves. When considering negative concepts, they push away. These bodily movements aren't conscious or deliberate. They're automatic accompaniments to abstract thought, suggesting that even our most sophisticated cognitive abilities are rooted in physical experience. The implications for education, therapy, and daily life are significant. If cognition is embodied, then changing your body state can change your mental state. Exercise doesn't just improve physical health, it enhances mood and cognition through embodied pathways. Movement breaks during studying aren't distractions. They support learning by engaging the whole embodied system. Adopting certain postures can genuinely boost confidence and performance, not through positive thinking alone, but through the body's influence on the brain. Embodied cognition dissolves the artificial separation between mind and body, thought and action, cognition and emotion. It reveals that thinking is something you do with your whole body, not just your brain. When you pace while problem solving, gesture while explaining, lean forward when interested, these aren't separate from thinking, they are thinking. Your body isn't a vessel containing a mind. You are a thinking body, an integrated system where cognition emerges from the dynamic interaction of brain, body, and world. Imagine you're walking alone at night and hear footsteps behind you. In a fraction of a second, before you consciously decide anything, your body transforms. Your heart pounds, your breathing quickens, your muscles tense. Blood drains from your digestive system and rushes to your limbs. Your pupils dilate. Sugar floods your bloodstream. You're ready to fight or flee. Your entire physiology reorganized around survival. This is the famous stress response, orchestrated primarily by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, commonly called the HPA axis. It begins in your hypothalamus, a small region deep in your brain that monitors for threats. When danger is detected, the hypothalamus releases a hormone that travels to your pituitary gland, which releases another hormone into your bloodstream. This second hormone reaches your adrenal glands, sitting atop your kidneys, which then pour out cortisol and adrenaline. These stress hormones race through your body, binding to receptors in nearly every tissue. In your heart, they increase rate and force of contraction. In your lungs, they open airways. In your liver, they trigger the release of stored energy. In your immune system, they initially boost certain defenses while suppressing others. The entire system is designed for short-term survival, mobilizing resources to deal with immediate danger. In our evolutionary past, this response was triggered by genuine physical threats: predators, hostile tribes, natural disasters. The response was brief and intense, followed by recovery. The physical danger would pass, cortisol levels would drop, and the body would return to baseline. This system served us well for millions of years, helping our ancestors survive in a dangerous world. But modern life presents a different challenge. Today's threats are rarely resolved through physical action. Work stress, financial worry, relationship conflicts, the constant pressure of deadlines and demands. These trigger the same ancient stress response designed for fighting and fleeing. Your body mobilizes for action that never comes. The hormones flood your system, but there's no predator to escape, no physical resolution that allows the stress response to complete its cycle and shut down. When the stress response becomes chronic, activated day after day without adequate recovery, it begins to damage the very systems it was designed to protect. Chronic cortisol exposure suppresses immune function, making you more vulnerable to infections and illness. It impairs memory formation by affecting the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. It increases inflammation throughout the body. It raises blood pressure and blood sugar, contributing to heart disease and diabetes. It alters brain chemistry, increasing the risk of depression and anxiety. The effects ripple through every aspect of health. Chronic stress accelerates cellular aging by shortening telomeres, the protective caps on chromosomes. It disrupts sleep, which compounds cognitive problems. It promotes fat accumulation, particularly around the abdomen, where it releases inflammatory chemicals. It changes appetite and food preferences, often increasing cravings for high-calorie comfort foods. The brain-body connection means that psychological stress becomes physical disease. But the story isn't simply that stress is bad and should be avoided. That's neither realistic nor entirely accurate. Research by health psychologist Kelly McGonigal has shown that it's not stress itself, but our response to stress that determines its impact. People who view stress as harmful and try to avoid it show worse health outcomes than those who view stress as a normal part of life that can enhance performance. The mindset towards stress matters as much as the stress itself. This makes sense from an embodied perspective. How you interpret bodily arousal affects how your body responds. If you perceive your racing heart and quick breathing as signs of danger and pathology, your body remains in defensive mode. Cortisol stays elevated, and negative effects accumulate. But if you interpret the same sensations as your body marshalling resources to meet a challenge, as energizing rather than threatening, your physiological response changes. Heart rate may still be elevated, but blood vessels remain more relaxed. Cortisol doesn't spike as much, and the experience is less damaging. The key is what psychologists call recovery, the ability to return to baseline after stress. This is where individual differences matter enormously. Some people have resilient stress systems that activate strongly when needed, but recover quickly afterward. Others have stress systems that activate easily but struggle to shut down, remaining partially activated, even during rest. This chronic low-level activation, called allostatic load, gradually wears down the body. Fortunately, recovery can be learned and improved. Practices that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest counterpart to the stress response, help restore balance. Deep breathing, meditation, gentle movement, time in nature, social connection, all of these signal safety to the body and allow stress hormones to dissipate. Even brief moments of recovery throughout the day can prevent the buildup of allostatic load. Physical exercise provides a particularly interesting case. Exercise is technically a stressor. It activates the HPA axis and releases cortisol. But regular exercise actually makes the stress system more resilient. It teaches the body to activate strongly and then recover efficiently. People who exercise regularly show better stress responses. They activate appropriately when needed, but recover more quickly. Exercise is like stress inoculation, building resilience through controlled activation and recovery cycles. Social connection also powerfully modulates the stress response. Physical touch, emotional support, and simply being in the presence of trusted others can dramatically reduce cortisol levels. This is mediated partly through the vagus nerve and partly through the release of oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding that has anti-stress effects. The stress response system evolved in a social context, and it functions best when we're not facing threats alone. Understanding the stress response illuminates the brain-body connection in vivid detail. A psychological experience, perceiving threat or challenge, instantly becomes a full-body physiological event. Hormones surge, organs adjust, metabolism shifts, and then these bodily changes feed back to the brain, influencing thoughts, emotions, and behavior. You cannot separate the mental experience of stress from its physical manifestations. They are one integrated response, a perfect example of how mind and body are unified in every moment. The motor cortex, the strip of brain tissue responsible for planning and executing movements, might seem purely physical in its function. It tells muscles when to contract, coordinates complex sequences of motion, and allows us to interact with the physical world. But neuroscience has revealed something surprising. The motor cortex isn't separate from cognitive and emotional life. Movement planning systems are deeply integrated with thinking, feeling, and perceiving. Consider what happens in your brain when you watch someone else perform an action. Mirror neurons, first discovered in the motor cortex of monkeys, fire both when you perform an action yourself and when you observe someone else performing the same action. When you watch a baseball player swing a bat, The same motor regions that would activate if you were swinging activate in your brain, though more weakly. You're simulating the action internally, running it through your own motor system. This neural mirroring is fundamental to how we understand others. When you see someone reach for a cup, you don't just process the visual information. Your motor system automatically simulates what it would feel like to reach in that way, allowing you to understand the intention behind the movement. This is embodied cognition at its finest. You understand actions by simulating them in your own body's motor system. Mirror neurons and motor simulation also play a crucial role in empathy. When you see someone in pain, your own pain-related neural circuits activate. When you watch someone smile, your motor cortex prepares your own smile, which is why smiles are so contagious. This automatic simulation allows you to feel what others feel, creating the neural basis for empathy and social connection. Your motor system isn't just for your own actions, it's a tool for understanding and connecting with others. The relationship between movement and cognition goes deeper still. Neuroscientists have found that motor planning systems are active during abstract thinking. When people think about the future, motor areas associated with forward movement activate. When considering options and making decisions, brain regions involved in physically approaching or avoiding activate. Even purely mental operations seem to engage motor systems, suggesting that abstract thought is grounded in motor experience. This makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. Before humans had language or abstract thought, we had movement. The motor system is ancient, refined over hundreds of millions of years. When more recently evolved cognitive abilities developed, they didn't emerge from nothing. They built upon and repurposed existing motor systems. Abstract thinking may have evolved by taking the motor system's ability to plan physical actions and applying it to mental actions, planning thoughts instead of movements. The practical implications are significant. If motor systems are involved in cognition, then movement should enhance thinking. And indeed, research consistently shows that physical activity improves cognitive function. Walking while brainstorming increases creative output. Students who learn while moving show better retention. Exercise enhances memory, attention, and executive function. This isn't just because exercise increases blood flow to the brain, though that helps. It's because movement engages the very neural systems used for thinking. This helps explain a common experience. Many people find themselves pacing when trying to solve difficult problems. This isn't nervous energy being discharged. It's the motor system actively contributing to problem solving. The rhythmic movement may help organize thoughts, and the physical activity engages neural networks that support cognition. Pacing, fidgeting, gesturing, all of these can be seen as thinking manifested through the body. Anxiety and motor systems are also intimately connected. The physical restlessness of anxiety, the inability to sit still, the muscle tension, these arise because anxiety is preparing the body for action. The motor cortex is primed, ready to execute fight or flight. When that action never comes, when there's no appropriate motor response to the perceived threat, the motor system remains activated, creating the uncomfortable sensation of needing to move without knowing how. Understanding this can help people with anxiety recognize that their physical restlessness isn't random. It's their motor system responding to perceived threat. Dance and rhythmic movement have been used therapeutically across cultures for millennia. Now we understand why they can be so powerful. Dance engages motor systems fully, while also involving emotion, music, and social connection. It provides a complete embodied experience that can shift mood, reduce stress, and enhance well-being. When you dance, you're not just moving your body, you're engaging neural networks that integrate movement, emotion, and cognition. The motor cortex and movement planning systems remind us that action and thought are not separate domains. They're deeply intertwined, sharing neural machinery and constantly influencing each other. When you move, you think differently. When you think, your motor system is often involved. This integration reflects the fundamental embodied nature of mind. Cognition didn't evolve to contemplate abstract truths in isolation. It evolved to guide action in the world, and it remains rooted in the motor systems that make action possible. Breathing is unique among bodily functions. It's automatic, controlled by brainstem circuits that maintain a steady rhythm without conscious thought. Yet unlike other automatic processes like heartbeat or digestion, breathing is also under voluntary control. You can choose to speed up, slow down, pause, or change the pattern of your breath. This dual nature, both automatic and voluntary, makes breath a powerful bridge between conscious and unconscious processes, between mind and body. Recent research has revealed that breathing doesn't just supply oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. The rhythm of breath directly influences brain states, affecting attention, emotion, memory, and consciousness itself. With every inhale and exhale, neural activity across the brain subtly oscillates, creating rhythmic waves that shape cognitive function. Breath is like a conductor's baton, organizing and coordinating brain activity in ways neuroscientists are only beginning to understand. One mechanism involves oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in the blood, which affect neural activity. But more intriguingly, mechanical breathing movements themselves influence the brain. Receptors in the lungs, diaphragm, and nasal passages send signals with each breath that reach brain regions involved in emotion, memory, and arousal. The simple mechanical act of breathing in and out creates rhythmic neural input that modulates brain function. Studies using brain imaging have found that breathing phase affects neural processing. During inhalation, certain brain regions show enhanced activity, particularly those involved in emotion processing like the amygdala. During exhalation, other regions activate more strongly. This rhythmic modulation means that whether you're breathing in or out actually affects how your brain processes information in that moment. The breath creates a background rhythm that influences every mental process. This helps explain something people have known intuitively for millennia. Controlling breath can change mental state. Across cultures and centuries, breathing practices have been used to alter consciousness, reduce stress, enhance focus, and support meditation. Pranayama in yoga, breath control in martial arts, breathing techniques in childbirth and therapy, all of these work by leveraging the direct connection between breathing patterns and brain states. Slow, deep breathing is particularly powerful. When you breathe slowly, especially when you extend the exhale, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, stress hormones decrease. The brain receives signals of safety and calm. Within minutes, slow breathing can shift you from an anxious, activated state to a calm, relaxed one. It's a direct, voluntary way to influence your nervous system. Box breathing, used by athletes and military personnel, provides another example. This technique involves breathing in for a count of 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and holding again for 4, creating a square or box pattern. This rhythmic, controlled breathing helps regulate arousal, maintaining focus, while preventing excessive stress activation. The precise rhythm appears to optimize the balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic activity, creating a state of calm alertness. Conversely, rapid, shallow breathing, common during panic attacks, has the opposite effect. It can trigger dizziness, tingling, and increased anxiety by altering blood carbon dioxide levels, and activating threat responses. The breathing pattern itself creates and amplifies panic. Teaching people to slow and deepen their breath during panic attacks directly addresses the physiological mechanism maintaining the panic, often stopping the attack more effectively than trying to change thoughts or distract attention. Nasal breathing versus mouth breathing also matters. Breathing through the nose stimulates receptors that influence neural activity differently than mouth breathing. Nasal breathing, especially the alternate nostril breathing practiced in yoga, has been shown to enhance coherence between brain hemispheres and promote states of calm focus. The nose isn't just an air passage, it's lined with receptors that signal the brain about breathing and influence neural processing. Breathing is intimately connected to emotion. When you're angry, breath becomes fast and forceful. When sad, breath is often shallow and sighing. When content, breath is smooth and even. These patterns aren't just consequences of emotion. They're part of how emotion is created and maintained. By changing the breathing pattern, you can shift the emotional state. This is embodied emotion regulation, using the body to change the mind. The relationship between breath and meditation deserves special attention. In most meditation practices, breath serves as an anchor for attention. But it's more than just a convenient focus point. The breath connects you directly to the present moment. Each breath is happening now, not in memory or imagination. By attending to breath, you're attending to direct, present moment bodily experience. This grounds awareness in the body and interrupts the tendency of mind to wander into past and future. Moreover, the calming effect of focused breathing makes meditation easier. As breath slows and deepens, the brain naturally becomes calmer, less prone to distraction, more capable of sustained attention. The breath isn't just the object of meditation, it's a tool that supports the meditative state itself. Mind and body work together, with breath serving as the link. Breath awareness also enhances interoception. When you regularly direct attention to breathing, you become more sensitive to internal bodily states in general. This improved interoceptive awareness supports emotional regulation and self-understanding. You begin to notice subtle body states that inform you about your emotions before they fully develop, giving you earlier opportunities to respond skillfully. The breath reminds us that the boundary between voluntary and involuntary, conscious and unconscious, is permeable. Breathing happens automatically, yet you can take control at any moment. This makes it a perfect symbol and tool for understanding the mind-body connection. You are neither purely automatic mechanism nor purely conscious agent. You are both integrated, with breath exemplifying how consciousness and biology dance together in every moment. Your heart does more than pump blood. It's an intelligent organ with its own intrinsic nervous system, containing roughly 40,000 neurons that process information independently. The heart receives signals from the brain, but it also sends far more signals back to the brain than it receives. In each moment, your heart is talking to your brain, influencing perception, emotion, decision-making, and consciousness. The most important signal the heart sends to the brain is reflected in heart rate variability, or HRV. This is the beat-to-beat variation in time between heartbeats. Contrary to what you might expect, a healthy heart doesn't beat like a metronome. The intervals between beats constantly change, speeding up slightly with inhalation and slowing with exhalation. High HRV indicates flexibility and resilience in the cardiovascular system. Low HRV suggests a rigid, less adaptable system. But HRV isn't just about cardiovascular health. It's strongly linked to psychological and emotional states. People with higher HRV tend to have better emotional regulation, greater stress resilience, and lower rates of anxiety and depression. High HRV is associated with activation of the parasympathetic nervous system and increased vagal tone. It's a marker of the body being in a state of flexible responsiveness rather than rigid defense. The signals from the heart reach multiple brain regions. They arrive at the brainstem, travel to areas involved in emotion like the amygdala, and reach higher cognitive regions including the prefrontal cortex. This means heart rhythms influence not just feeling, but thinking. When your heart rhythm is chaotic and irregular, associated with stress and negative emotions, it disrupts cognitive function. Attention suffers, memory is impaired, decision-making becomes less effective. Conversely, when heart rhythm is coherent, a state characterized by smooth, ordered oscillations in heart rate, cognitive function improves. Attention sharpens, memory enhances, problem-solving becomes easier. The heart's rhythmic pattern is literally organizing brain activity, creating coherence across neural networks. The heart isn't just responding to brain commands, it's actively shaping how the brain functions. This has led to the development of heart coherence techniques, practices designed to intentionally create ordered heart rhythms. The most effective method involves combining slow breathing with positive emotion. As you breathe slowly and evenly while focusing on feelings like gratitude or care, heart rhythm naturally becomes more coherent. Within minutes, this practice can shift you into a state of calm alertness, with enhanced cognitive and emotional capacity. The heart's influence on the brain also affects perception. Neuroscientists have found that whether you're in systole, when the heart contracts, or diastole, when it relaxes, influences how you perceive threatening stimuli. During systole, when baroreceptors in the heart and blood vessels are sensing pressure, the brain is slightly less reactive to threat. During diastole, threat sensitivity increases. Your perception of danger oscillates with every heartbeat, though you're completely unaware of it. This makes evolutionary sense. When the heart is contracting forcefully, the body is already activated, ready for action. Adding more stress responsiveness isn't necessary. But during the relaxation phase, the system is more receptive to detecting new threats. The heart's rhythm creates a window of opportunity for threat detection, maximizing vigilance while preventing overreaction. Fear and anxiety are intimately connected to heart sensations. When people with panic disorder experience panic attacks, they often report intense focus on their heartbeat, catastrophic interpretation of heart sensations, and overwhelming fear of cardiac events. Their interoceptive awareness becomes hyper-focused on the heart, and normal variations in heartbeat are interpreted as danger. This creates a vicious cycle. Anxiety increases heart rate. Noticing increased heart rate fuels more anxiety. Breaking this cycle often involves changing the relationship to heart sensations. Rather than interpreting them as dangerous, learning to observe them with calm curiosity. Heart-focused meditation practices can help, teaching people to notice heartbeat without judgment or fear. Over time, the heart becomes less threatening, just an organ doing its job, and the panic cycle weakens. The connection between heart and emotion runs deep in human culture. We speak of heartbreak, heartache, courage coming from the heart. Across languages and cultures, the heart is associated with emotion, love, courage. This isn't mere poetry. It reflects embodied experience. Emotions are literally felt in the heart. The physical sensations of heart pounding, heart racing, heart sinking, these are integral to emotional experience, not separate from it. Modern research on heart-brain interaction vindicates these ancient intuitions while revealing the mechanisms underneath. The heart is not just a pump. It's an organ of perception, communication, and regulation. It senses the internal state of the body and reports to the brain. It influences emotion and cognition through its rhythmic signals. It serves as a bridge between body and mind, between physical and psychological, demonstrating once again that these are not separate domains, but aspects of one integrated system. Caring for heart health, then, is not just about preventing cardiovascular disease. It's about supporting emotional and cognitive well-being. Practices that improve HRV, like exercise, meditation, slow breathing, and cultivating positive emotions, benefit both body and mind simultaneously. The heart reminds us that physical and mental health are inseparable, two faces of the same underlying vitality. Human touch is more than sensation. It's communication, connection, and healing. From the moment of birth, when skin-to-skin contact helps regulate a newborn's vital signs, to the comforting embrace between loved ones, touch serves functions far beyond the obvious. The brain has dedicated pathways for processing social touch, distinct from those handling other tactile sensations, recognizing touch's special role in emotional life and social bonding. These pathways involve C-tactile afferents, special nerve fibers found in hairy skin across most of the body. Unlike the fast-conducting fibers that report sharp touch and pressure, C-tactile afferents respond optimally to gentle, slow stroking at body temperature, exactly the kind of touch used in caressing and comforting. When activated, they send signals to brain regions involved in emotion and social cognition, not to the primary sensory cortex. Social touch is processed differently than mere physical sensation. When someone you trust touches you gently, multiple things happen in your brain and body. The insula, that crucial hub for interoception and emotion, activates. The hypothalamus triggers release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Stress hormones like cortisol decrease. Heart rate and blood pressure often decline. The nervous system shifts toward parasympathetic activation, the rest and digest state. Touch is literally calming your physiology. Oxytocin's role in social touch is particularly important. This hormone, released during childbirth, breastfeeding, and social bonding, has wide-ranging effects. It reduces activity in the amygdala, decreasing fear and anxiety. It enhances trust and social approach behaviors. It appears to reduce pain perception. And critically, oxytocin release is triggered by gentle touch, making physical contact a pathway to all of oxytocin's beneficial effects. The pain-reducing effects of touch are well documented. Studies have shown that holding hands with a loved one during painful experiences measurably reduces pain intensity. Brain imaging reveals that social touch decreases activity in pain-processing regions. This isn't just psychological comfort, though that matters too. It's direct modulation of pain pathways through touch-activated signals. The presence and touch of another person literally changes how your nervous system processes pain. One remarkable study found that when romantic partners hold hands during pain, their brain waves synchronize, a phenomenon called interpersonal synchronization. Touch appears to create a physiological connection between people, aligning their nervous systems. This suggests that empathy isn't just mental, it has a physiological component. Through touch, we physically share states with others, our bodies tuning to each other like instruments in an orchestra. Temperature also plays a fascinating role in social perception and the brain-body connection. Studies have found that holding something warm, like a cup of hot coffee, makes people judge others as warmer and more trustworthy. Physical warmth literally creates feelings of social warmth. This happens because neural circuits for physical and social warmth overlap, developed early in life when caregivers' warm bodies provided both physical comfort and social safety. The connection goes deeper. Research shows that experiencing social rejection can activate the same brain regions involved in physical pain. When people feel excluded or rejected, they report feeling hurt, and brain scans reveal activity in areas that process physical pain. The language we use, heartache, feeling hurt, feeling cold, reflects genuine neural overlap between physical and social pain systems. Social pain is embodied, felt in the body, as surely as physical injury. This overlap means that treatments for physical pain can sometimes alleviate social pain, and vice versa. Taking pain medication has been shown in some studies to reduce feelings of social rejection. Conversely, social connection and physical touch can reduce physical pain. The brain doesn't rigidly separate these experiences. They're processed through overlapping networks, reinforcing the idea that all experience is embodied, all feeling involves the body. Loneliness and social isolation have measurable physical effects. People who are chronically lonely show increased inflammation, elevated stress hormones, disrupted sleep, and compromised immune function. The absence of touch and connection isn't just emotionally painful, it's physically harmful. Human beings evolved as intensely social creatures, and our nervous systems expect regular social contact. Without it, stress responses activate and health suffers. The healing power of touch extends across the lifespan. Premature infants who receive regular gentle touch gain weight faster and develop more quickly. Children who experience nurturing touch show better stress regulation and emotional development. Adults who regularly experience affectionate touch from partners or friends show better cardiovascular health and lower rates of depression. Even in elderly individuals, touch can reduce agitation, improve mood, and enhance quality of life. Different cultures have different norms around touch, but the underlying neurobiology appears universal. Humans across all cultures use touch to communicate care, to bond with infants, to comfort the distressed. The C-tactile afferents and oxytocin systems that make touch meaningful are part of our shared biological heritage, shaped by millions of years of evolution as social mammals who depended on each other for survival. In modern life, particularly in cultures with low-touch norms, many people experience what researchers call skin hunger, a chronic deficit of meaningful touch. This deprivation can contribute to feelings of isolation, depression, and anxiety. Understanding the neurobiology of touch helps explain why physical connection isn't a luxury, but a biological need. We are creatures designed for contact, and our nervous systems function best when that need is met. The brain-body connection revealed through touch research shows us that connection isn't abstract. It's physical, chemical, neural. When we touch and are touched, when we feel warmth and provide warmth to others, we're engaging ancient biological systems that bind us together. In a very real sense, other people don't just influence our psychology, they become part of our physiology. Through touch, we literally regulate each other's nervous systems, sharing not just emotions, but bodily states. Having explored the many pathways connecting brain and body, from the vagus nerve to the gut microbiome, from interoception to embodied cognition, we arrive at a profound realization. The separation between mind and body is an illusion. What we experience as mental and physical are simply different aspects of one integrated system. Your thoughts shape your physiology. Your physiology shapes your thoughts. Neither is primary. They arise together, in constant dialogue. This understanding transforms how we approach health and well-being. Traditional medicine focused on treating the body. Traditional psychotherapy focused on treating the mind. But if mind and body are inseparable, then any intervention affects both. Taking care of your physical health is taking care of your mental health. Working on your psychological well-being is working on your physical health. Every choice ripples through the entire system. Consider exercise. We typically think of it as physical activity for physical benefits, cardiovascular fitness, strength, weight management. But exercise is also one of the most powerful interventions for mental health. It reduces depression and anxiety as effectively as many medications. It enhances mood, cognitive function, memory, and attention. These aren't separate benefits. They're the same integrated system responding to movement, as motor cortex engagement enhances neural function, as increased blood flow nourishes brain tissue, as muscles release molecules that act on the brain. Or consider meditation and mindfulness. These practices calm the mind, reduce stress, enhance emotional regulation, but they also have profound physical effects. Regular meditation changes brain structure, increasing gray matter in regions associated with attention and emotion regulation. It reduces inflammation markers in the blood. It improves immune function. It lowers blood pressure and slows cellular aging. Mental practice becomes physical transformation because mind and body are one. Diet provides another clear example. What you eat doesn't just fuel your body, it influences your mood, cognition, and mental health through the gut-brain axis. The bacteria in your intestines respond to your food choices, producing neurotransmitters and other compounds that reach your brain. Inflammation triggered by certain foods affects neural function. Blood sugar fluctuations alter energy and mood. Every meal is a message to your entire system, body and mind together. Sleep offers yet another illustration. We often think of sleep as rest for the body, but it's equally essential for the brain. During sleep, the brain consolidates memories, clears metabolic waste, regulates emotions, and restores cognitive function. Inadequate sleep impairs not just mental performance, but physical health, weakening immunity, disrupting metabolism, and accelerating aging. The brain requires sleep for its health, and the body requires sleep for the brain's health. They're inseparable. Social connection exemplifies the integration most beautifully. Relationships affect mental health obviously, providing meaning, support, and joy. But social connection also profoundly influences physical health. People with strong social ties have stronger immune systems, lower rates of chronic disease, and longer lifespans. Loneliness and isolation increase mortality risk as much as smoking. This happens through the pathways we've explored: touch releasing oxytocin, social safety, calming stress responses, connection reducing inflammation. Relationships are medicine for the whole system. Understanding the brain-body connection also helps explain why holistic practices from various traditions can be so effective. Yoga combines movement, breath work, and meditation, engaging multiple pathways simultaneously. Tai Chi integrates slow movement with mindful awareness and social practice. These ancient practices, developed through centuries of empirical observation, seem to have intuitively grasped what neuroscience is now confirming. Health emerges from the integration of mind and body, and practices that engage both are most powerful. This knowledge is empowering. It means you have more influence over your health than you might have thought. By working with your body, you can change your mind. By working with your mind, you can change your body. The pathways are bidirectional, offering multiple entry points for intervention. Feel anxious. You can work with thoughts, but you can also slow your breathing, relax your posture, or go for a walk. Feel physically tense? You can stretch, but you can also practice meditation or cultivate gratitude. Every approach affects the whole system. It also means that small changes can have large effects through cascading influences. Improving sleep helps regulate emotions, which reduces stress, which improves immune function, which enhances energy, which supports exercise, which further improves sleep. Cultivating gratitude reduces stress hormones, which calms inflammation, which improves gut health, which produces more mood-supporting neurotransmitters, which makes gratitude easier to access. The integrated system amplifies positive changes. The brain-body connection reminds us to listen to our bodies. Physical sensations aren't separate from emotional life. They are emotional life. That knot in your stomach, that tension in your shoulders, that heaviness in your chest. These are your emotions in bodily form. By developing interoceptive awareness, by learning to notice and interpret bodily signals, you gain access to emotional information that might otherwise remain unconscious. Your body is always communicating. The question is whether you're listening. This perspective also cultivates compassion, both for yourself and others. When you understand that mood and behavior are influenced by bodily states, by inflammation, by gut bacteria, by stress hormones, by sleep deprivation, it becomes harder to judge harshly. That irritability might not be a character flaw, but inadequate sleep affecting emotional regulation. That anxiety might not be weakness, but a sensitive stress system that needs support. That depression might not be lack of willpower, but inflammation affecting brain chemistry. Understanding the physical basis of mental states doesn't diminish their reality. It contextualizes them within the whole system. For those struggling with mental health challenges, the brain-body connection offers hope and additional tools. If talk therapy alone isn't enough, perhaps addressing gut health, inflammation, exercise, sleep, or social connection might help. If medication helps but isn't complete, perhaps adding meditation, yoga, or breath work might enhance its effects. The more pathways you engage, the more opportunities for healing. The integration of mind and body also suggests that prevention is holistic. Maintaining mental health isn't just about managing thoughts and emotions. It's about taking care of your whole system. Eating well, moving regularly, sleeping adequately, managing stress, maintaining relationships, spending time in nature. These aren't separate health behaviors. They're all aspects of caring for the integrated system that is you. Looking to the future, medicine and psychology are slowly moving toward this integrated understanding. Psychoneuroimmunology, nutritional psychiatry, somatic therapies, mind-body medicine. These emerging fields recognize that treating the whole person means addressing both psychological and physical aspects simultaneously. The artificial division between mental and physical health is gradually dissolving, replaced by a more accurate understanding of integrated health. This shift has practical implications for how we organize healthcare. Rather than sending someone with depression only to a psychiatrist, an integrated approach might also involve a nutritionist to address gut health and inflammation, an exercise physiologist to develop a movement plan, and a sleep specialist to optimize rest. Rather than treating chronic pain only with medication, an integrated approach might include meditation training, physical therapy, and psychotherapy to address the emotional aspects of pain. The whole person requires whole person care. Research continues to reveal new aspects of the brain-body connection. Scientists are discovering how the nervous system extends into every organ, how immune cells communicate with neurons, how connective tissue transmits signals, how fascia might store emotional memories. Each discovery adds complexity to the picture while reinforcing the fundamental truth. We are integrated systems, not collections of separate parts. The practical wisdom from understanding the brain-body connection can be distilled into several key principles. First, respect the unity of your system. What affects one part affects the whole. Second, Use multiple pathways. Change can come through body, mind, behavior, environment, or relationships. Third, attend to basics. Sleep, movement, nutrition, and connection aren't optional extras. They're foundational to the system's function. Fourth, develop awareness. Notice your body's signals and honor what they're telling you. Fifth, be patient. Integrated systems change gradually through sustained practice, not overnight transformation. Most importantly, perhaps, the brain-body connection teaches us that we are not machines to be fixed, but living systems to be supported. Health isn't the absence of problems, but the resilient functioning of an integrated whole. It's the ability to respond flexibly to challenges, to recover from stress, to maintain balance across multiple systems. It emerges not from forcing or controlling, but from supporting the natural integration of mind and body. Emotions, we now understand, are not purely mental phenomena. They are full-body experiences, orchestrated by neural networks that span both brain and body. When neuroscientist Antonio Damasio proposed his somatic marker hypothesis, he fundamentally changed how we think about feelings. Emotions, he argued, are the brain's interpretation of bodily changes. You don't feel afraid, and then your heart races. Your heart races, and your brain interprets that pattern of bodily activation as fear. This insight reveals why emotions feel the way they do, why they have physical weight and texture. Anxiety manifests as chest tightness, rapid breathing, muscle tension. Joy expands the chest, lightens the limbs, energizes movement. Sadness feels heavy, slowing the body, bowing the shoulders. These aren't metaphorical descriptions. They're accurate reports of physiological states. Each emotion corresponds to a distinct pattern of bodily activation. Brain imaging studies have mapped these emotional body patterns across cultures. When people from different countries report where in their body they feel various emotions, the maps are remarkably similar. Anger is felt in the chest, arms, and head. Love spreads warmth throughout the body. Shame concentrates in the face and upper chest. These patterns appear universal, suggesting they're built into our shared biology rather than culturally learned. The amygdala, often called the fear center, plays a crucial role in emotional embodiment. This almond-shaped structure, deep in the brain, receives input from both external senses and internal body sensors. It integrates information about what's happening around you with information about your body's state, determining whether the current situation is safe or threatening. The amygdala then triggers appropriate bodily responses through connections to the hypothalamus and brainstem. But the amygdala isn't a simple threat detector. It's more accurately described as a relevance detector, highlighting whatever matters most for survival and well-being. It responds not just to danger, but to opportunities, not just to threats, but to rewards. Its role is to ensure that emotionally significant events capture attention and mobilize appropriate bodily responses. The body must be ready to act on what matters. The prefrontal cortex, particularly regions behind the forehead, provides emotional regulation. These areas can modulate amygdala responses, dampening fear reactions when they're excessive or maintaining vigilance when caution is needed. The prefrontal cortex integrates emotional signals with context, memory, and goals, allowing for flexible responses rather than automatic reactions. This is where conscious emotional regulation happens, the ability to feel an emotion without being overwhelmed by it. But regulation doesn't mean suppression. Research shows that trying to suppress emotions often backfires, increasing physiological arousal while hiding outward expression. The body remains activated even when the face stays neutral. This internal conflict can be exhausting and unhealthy. More effective regulation involves acknowledging emotions, understanding their bodily basis, and choosing how to respond rather than whether to feel. The relationship between facial expressions and emotions exemplifies the bidirectional nature of emotional embodiment. Charles Darwin recognized that emotional expressions are largely universal, suggesting they evolved to communicate internal states to others. A smile signals friendliness. A frown signals displeasure. Widened eyes signal surprise or fear. These expressions help coordinate social interactions, allowing groups to function more effectively. But expressions don't just communicate emotions to others, they influence the emotional experience itself. The facial feedback hypothesis proposes that expression patterns feed back to the brain, intensifying or modifying feelings. Studies have confirmed this. Holding a smile increases positive feelings, while maintaining a frown increases negative feelings. Your face isn't just expressing emotion, it's helping to create it. This explains why Botox injections, which paralyze facial muscles, can affect emotional experience. People who receive Botox often report reduced intensity of emotions, both positive and negative. Unable to fully express emotions facially, they feel them less intensely. This isn't necessarily negative. In fact, Botox has shown some promise in treating depression, possibly by interfering with the facial feedback that maintains negative mood. But it illustrates how expression and experience are intertwined. Voice and emotional embodiment are similarly connected. When you're anxious, your voice rises in pitch and speeds up. When sad, it lowers and slows. These changes result from emotional effects on breathing, throat muscles, and vocal cords. But like facial expressions, vocal patterns also feed back to influence emotion. Deliberately speaking in a calm, slow voice can help calm internal states. Many meditation traditions use chanting or toning for exactly this reason, using voice to shift emotional states. Posture's influence on emotion operates through similar feedback mechanisms. Standing tall with open posture doesn't just make you look confident, it can genuinely increase feelings of confidence and reduce stress hormones. Slouching doesn't just express defeat, it can contribute to feelings of helplessness. The body teaches the brain how to feel through the positions it adopts. Gesture and movement are also emotionally expressive and formative. Aggressive gestures amp up anger. Gentle flowing movements promote calm. This is why practices like yoga or Tai Chi, which guide the body through specific postures and movements, can so effectively shift emotional states. They're working directly with the embodied nature of emotion, using movement to reshape feeling. Crying offers a fascinating window into emotional embodiment. Tears contain different chemical compositions depending on their cause. Emotional tears contain stress hormones and other substances. Crying may help release these chemicals, which partly explains why people often feel relief after crying. The physical act of releasing tears isn't separate from emotional release. It is emotional release, the body discharging emotional activation through a physical mechanism. Laughter provides another example of emotional embodiment at work. Genuine laughter involves the whole body, diaphragm contractions, facial muscles, vocalization, sometimes even full body movement. This physical activation triggers endorphin release and reduces stress hormones. Even forced laughter can produce some of these benefits, which is why laughter yoga and similar practices can improve mood. The body doesn't always distinguish between genuine and performed laughter, responding to the physical pattern either way. The embodied nature of emotion explains why physical trauma can create lasting emotional effects. When the body goes through terrifying experiences, those bodily states become associated with the trauma. Later, anything that triggers similar bodily sensations, a sudden movement, a particular smell, a specific body position, can trigger the emotional memory. This is why trauma treatment increasingly focuses on the body, helping people process traumatic memories by addressing the bodily patterns that hold them. Somatic therapies recognize that emotional healing often requires bodily work. Approaches like somatic experiencing, sensory-motor psychotherapy, and body-oriented trauma therapy help people notice, tolerate, and release bodily patterns associated with difficult emotions. By working directly with physical sensations, muscle tension, and movement patterns, these therapies can access emotional material that traditional talk therapy might miss. The embodied view of emotion also illuminates emotional contagion, how emotions spread between people. When you see someone smile, your mirror neurons activate the same muscles. This creates a weak version of the expression on your own face, which through facial feedback influences your emotional state. You begin to feel a bit of what they're feeling. This automatic process underlies empathy and helps groups coordinate emotionally. Understanding emotions as embodied experiences, rather than purely mental states, transforms how we work with them. It suggests that emotional wellness requires physical wellness, that managing emotions involves managing body states, and that emotional expression through the body is healthy and necessary. It reveals that emotions aren't just thoughts to be changed, but full system responses to be acknowledged, understood, and integrated. Memory seems like a purely mental faculty, the brain storing representations of past experiences. But memory, like everything else, is embodied. The state of your body during learning affects what and how you remember. The state of your body during recall influences what you can access. And some memories may be stored not just in neural patterns, but in bodily patterns themselves. The most obvious connection between body and memory involves state-dependent learning. Information learned in one bodily state is more easily recalled in that same state. If you study while drinking coffee, you'll remember better with coffee in your system. If you learn something while exercising, you'll recall it more readily while active. The bodily context becomes part of the memory, a cue for retrieval. This explains some frustrating experiences, like walking into a room and forgetting why you came. The change in physical environment, which affects bodily state through different sensory input, can disrupt memory retrieval. Walking back to where you were often brings the memory back because you're restoring the bodily state associated with encoding. Emotional arousal during learning powerfully enhances memory formation. The amygdala, activated during emotional experiences, modulates the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. This ensures that emotionally significant events are remembered more vividly than neutral ones. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Events that triggered strong emotions were likely important for survival, worth remembering in detail. But emotional enhancement of memory isn't uniform. While emotion strengthens memory for central details, it can actually impair memory for peripheral information. When you're frightened, you remember the threat very clearly but might not remember other details of the scene. This tunnel memory effect concentrates resources on what matters most in the moment, sometimes at the cost of complete recollection. The physical stress response during traumatic events can create especially powerful memories. High levels of stress hormones during trauma ensure that the experience is deeply encoded. But these traumatic memories often have unusual characteristics. They can be fragmented, lacking the narrative structure of normal memories. They can intrude involuntarily, triggered by bodily states or sensory cues. They can feel emotionally present, even when intellectually recognized as past. This happens because extreme stress can affect hippocampal function, which normally organizes memories into coherent narratives with clear timestamps. The traumatic experience gets encoded in a more primitive, body-based form. The memory is stored not just as a story you can tell, but as a bodily response that can be triggered. This is why trauma survivors might have full-body reactions to reminders, experiencing the fear and physiological arousal as if the event were happening now. Procedural memory, the memory for skills and habits, is inherently embodied. When you learn to ride a bicycle, play an instrument, or type on a keyboard, the knowledge isn't stored as explicit facts, but as motor patterns. The body learns, and the memory resides in the neural circuits controlling movement. This is why procedural memories are so durable, and why they're hard to describe in words. Your body knows how to do it, but your conscious mind might struggle to explain exactly what it's doing. Interestingly, procedural memories seem to consolidate during sleep, particularly during REM sleep, when the brain is highly active, but the body is paralyzed. The brain appears to be practicing motor patterns offline, strengthening the neural circuits without actually moving. This nocturnal practice helps explain why sleep is so important for learning physical skills. Some researchers propose that memory might be stored not just in neurons but in other body tissues. This controversial idea, sometimes called somatic memory or body memory, suggests that patterns of muscle tension, fascial organization, or even cellular states might encode aspects of experience. While this remains speculative, there are intriguing hints. People sometimes report that massage or bodywork releases emotions or memories. Physical patterns associated with past experiences might serve as memory traces. The phenomenon of implicit memory demonstrates that the body can remember what the mind doesn't consciously recall. Someone with amnesia might not remember meeting you before, but their body might show physiological recognition, like reduced startle response or faster heart rate. The body knows even when conscious memory doesn't. This implicit bodily memory operates constantly, guiding behavior through patterns we're not aware of. Context affects memory retrieval through bodily pathways. If you want to remember something from your childhood, returning to a childhood location can help. The sensory input, the smells, sights, and sounds, recreate aspects of the bodily state you were in then, making associated memories more accessible. This is why visiting old neighborhoods can trigger floods of memories. The body is providing retrieval cues. The encoding specificity principle states that memory is best when retrieval conditions match encoding conditions. This applies to internal bodily states as much as external context. If you want to remember something important, pay attention to your bodily state while learning it. Then, when you need to recall it, recreate that state as much as possible. Physical movement can enhance memory formation and retrieval. Walking while learning, for example, has been shown to improve memory compared to sitting still. The movement engages motor systems, increases blood flow to the brain, and provides additional sensory input, all of which support memory encoding. This is why pacing while studying or having walking meetings can be cognitively beneficial. Sleep's role in memory consolidation involves crucial body-brain interactions. During sleep, the brain replays experiences from the day, strengthening important memories and pruning less relevant ones. But this process requires the body to be in specific states. Deep sleep is crucial for consolidating factual memories. REM sleep is important for emotional memory processing and procedural memory. The body's sleep architecture directly determines what gets remembered and how. The connection between body and memory has therapeutic applications. Techniques like eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, or EMDR, use bilateral physical stimulation to help process traumatic memories. The physical movement appears to facilitate memory reconsolidation, allowing traumatic memories to be updated and integrated rather than remaining stuck in their original, distressing form. Understanding memory as embodied helps explain why forgetting isn't always a failure. Forgetting can be adaptive, allowing bodily and mental resources to focus on what's currently relevant. The body doesn't need to carry every detail of every experience. Some forgetting helps the system run efficiently, preventing the past from overwhelming the present. The study of brain-body connections is accelerating, with new discoveries emerging regularly. Advanced brain imaging techniques allow scientists to watch in real time as thoughts influence body states, and body states influence neural activity. Wearable sensors track physiological variables continuously, revealing patterns invisible before. Genetic sequencing shows how experiences, through the body, can influence which genes are expressed. The frontier of mind-body research is vast and exciting. One emerging area is the study of the connectomy, the complete map of neural connections in the brain. As scientists trace these pathways in increasing detail, they're finding that regions traditionally associated with pure cognition have extensive connections to body-sensing areas. The default mode network, active during rest and self-reflection, is heavily interconnected with interoceptive systems. Even abstract thought appears grounded in bodily awareness at the neural level. Another frontier involves exteroception, the influence of environmental factors on the brain-body system. Researchers are discovering that exposure to nature, for example, affects multiple physiological systems simultaneously. Time in forests reduces cortisol, lowers blood pressure, enhances immune function, and improves mood. These aren't separate effects, but coordinated responses of the integrated system to environmental input. The body knows it's safe in nature, and multiple systems relax together. The study of biofields, the electromagnetic and other energy fields generated by living organisms, represents a more controversial frontier. Some researchers propose that these fields might carry information and influence biological processes. While skepticism is warranted and evidence is preliminary, it's worth noting that the heart generates a powerful electromagnetic field that extends beyond the body, and that brainwaves can synchronize between people in close proximity. Whether these fields play functional roles remains to be determined. The microbiome frontier continues to expand. Beyond gut bacteria, researchers are studying the microbiomes of skin, lungs, and other body sites, finding that each community of microorganisms influences local and systemic function. The oral microbiome, for example, appears connected to cardiovascular health and possibly to neurodegenerative diseases. The vaginal microbiome affects infant brain development during birth. We are walking ecosystems, and understanding these microbial communities is essential to understanding health. Epigenetics, the study of how experiences influence gene expression without changing DNA sequence, reveals another layer of mind-body integration. Stress, diet, exercise, social connection, even thoughts and emotions can influence which genes are turned on or off. These changes can sometimes persist for years and may even be passed to offspring. The environment, experienced through the body, literally shapes biology at the genetic level. Nature and nurture aren't separate. They're in constant conversation through the body. Chronobiology, the study of biological rhythms, shows that the body operates on multiple overlapping cycles. The circadian rhythm, roughly 24 hours, influences nearly every system. But there are also ultradian rhythms, shorter cycles of alertness and rest throughout the day, and infradian rhythms, longer cycles like menstrual cycles, that affect physiology and psychology. Living in sync with these natural rhythms supports health, while chronically fighting them through shift work or inadequate sleep damages the integrated system. The field of network physiology studies how different physiological systems, cardiovascular, respiratory, neural, and others, coordinate their rhythms. Healthy individuals show complex, coordinated patterns across systems. Disease often involves loss of this coordination, systems falling out of sync with each other. This perspective views health as orchestration, multiple systems playing together in harmony, and illness as disruption of that coordination. Researchers are also investigating how consciousness itself might be embodied. Rather than residing solely in the brain, consciousness might emerge from the entire body-brain system's integration. Some theories propose that consciousness requires both neural processing and bodily feedback, that subjective experience arises from the body perceiving itself. This would make consciousness fundamentally embodied, impossible without a body to be conscious of and through. The therapeutic frontier includes new technologies for measuring and influencing the brain-body connection. Virtual reality is being used to treat PTSD by providing safe environments for trauma processing. Biofeedback devices allow people to see their physiological states in real time, learning to consciously influence normally automatic processes. Neurofeedback trains people to modify their brainwave patterns. These technologies make visible and modifiable processes that were once completely unconscious. Artificial intelligence is being applied to predict mental health states from physiological data. By analyzing patterns in heart rate variability, movement, sleep, and other bodily signals, algorithms can sometimes detect depression or anxiety before people consciously notice symptoms. This could enable earlier intervention, though it also raises privacy and ethical concerns. The technology reveals that mental states have clear physical signatures, often detectable before conscious awareness. Researchers are exploring how exercise might serve as a treatment for psychiatric conditions. Beyond its known benefits for mood, exercise appears to promote neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. It increases production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor and other molecules that support brain health. Some scientists are working to distill exercise's benefits into pharmaceutical form, identifying the molecular signals muscles send to the brain during activity. The study of meditation and contemplative practices continues to reveal their effects on brain and body. Long-term meditators show distinctive brain patterns with enhanced integration between attention networks and default mode networks. They show slower cellular aging. They demonstrate greater emotional regulation and reduced inflammatory markers. These practices appear to optimize brain-body integration, enhancing the system's coherence and resilience. Pain research is revealing that chronic pain involves changes in how the brain maps and interprets bodily signals. In some cases, pain persists even after the initial injury heals, because the brain has learned to generate pain signals. Understanding this has led to new treatments focusing on retraining the brain's body maps, helping people unlearn chronic pain patterns. This work beautifully illustrates how pain, while felt in the body, is constructed by the brain-body relationship. Research into psychedelics is experiencing a renaissance, revealing how these substances affect consciousness by temporarily altering brain-body integration. Psychedelics appear to reduce activity in the default mode network, while enhancing connectivity across brain regions normally segregated. Users often report feeling more connected to their bodies and to a larger reality. Whether psychedelics will prove therapeutically useful remains to be fully determined, but they're providing valuable insights into the neural basis of consciousness and self. The frontier of mind-body research keeps expanding, each answer revealing new questions. How exactly do thoughts influence immune cells? What mechanisms allow the gut microbiome to affect brain development? How does social connection translate into physical health benefits? Why do some people have robust mind-body integration while others struggle? The questions are endless, but each investigation reinforces the fundamental insight. We are integrated systems, and understanding ourselves requires studying the whole. We've traveled far tonight, from the vagus nerve wandering through your body to the bacteria in your gut producing neurotransmitters, from the way breath shapes consciousness to how touch creates connection, from embodied cognition to the stress response, from interoception to the heart's dialogue with the brain. Each pathway we've explored reveals the same essential truth. There is no separation between mind and body. They are one system, seamlessly integrated, constantly in conversation. This understanding changes everything. It means that every thought you think ripples through your flesh. Every emotion you feel is written in your physiology. Every bodily state colors your consciousness. You are not a ghost in a machine, a mind piloting a meat vehicle. You are an embodied being, a living system, where mental and physical are simply different ways of describing the same unified experience. The implications are both humbling and empowering. Humbling because we realize how much of what we call self depends on factors we don't control. Our genetics, our microbiome, our early experiences that shaped our nervous systems. Empowering because we discover we have more influence than we thought. By working with our bodies, we can change our minds. By working with our minds, we can change our bodies. The pathways flow both ways, offering many routes to wellness. Living in integration means honoring the whole system. It means recognizing that taking care of your body is taking care of your mind. That managing stress isn't separate from preventing disease. That emotional health and physical health are aspects of the same underlying vitality. It means moving beyond the old divisions, treating yourself as the unified being you are. It means listening to your body, developing interoceptive awareness, noticing the subtle signals that tell you what you need. Your body is always communicating. That fatigue, that tension, that gut feeling. These are information. Not always pleasant, not always convenient, but worthy of attention. The more you learn to listen, the more wisely you can respond to your own needs. Living in integration means using multiple pathways. If you're struggling emotionally, you might address it through therapy, but also through exercise, nutrition, sleep, social connection, breathwork, or movement practices. More pathways engaged means more opportunities for change. The integrated system responds best when approached from multiple directions. It means respecting the basics: adequate sleep, regular movement, nourishing food, meaningful connection. These aren't optional lifestyle choices. They're requirements for the system's healthy function. No amount of therapy or medication can fully compensate for chronically inadequate sleep or persistent isolation. The foundation matters. Living in integration means being patient with yourself. The system changes gradually through sustained practice over time. Quick fixes rarely work because they target symptoms without addressing the whole. Real change comes from consistently supporting the integrated system, allowing it to find new patterns of functioning. It means recognizing that healing isn't linear. The system has good days and bad days, periods of progress and periods of plateau. This isn't failure, it's how complex systems work. Integration involves setbacks, mistakes, and learning. Be gentle with yourself in the process. Living in integration also means recognizing your connection to others. Through mirror neurons, emotional contagion, interpersonal synchronization, and physical touch, we literally share states with those around us. You are not isolated, Your nervous system expects connection and functions best when that expectation is met. Taking care of relationships is taking care of your integrated self. It means understanding that healing often requires community. We are social creatures, and our brain-body systems evolved in groups. Isolation is harmful, not just emotionally, but physically. Connection is healing, not just psychologically, but physiologically. We need each other, not as abstract moral principle, but as biological reality. The brain-body connection also invites us to marvel. What an extraordinary thing you are, a system so complex that billions of neurons coordinate with trillions of cells across dozens of organs, creating the unified experience of being you. A system where bacteria in your gut influence thoughts in your head, where the rhythm of your breath shapes consciousness, where the touch of another person literally syncs your nervous systems, where movement becomes emotion, becomes thought, becomes physiology in one seamless flow. This integration is beautiful and mysterious. Science can map pathways, identify molecules, trace connections. But the subjective experience of being an embodied, conscious entity that remains miraculous. You are matter that has become aware of itself, cells that have organized into a system capable of sensing its own existence. However much we learn, that fundamental mystery persists. Perhaps the deepest insight from exploring the brain-body connection is this: you are not separate from nature. You are nature, a particularly complex and conscious expression of it, but nature nonetheless. The same principles that organize ecosystems organize your body-brain system. The same processes of integration and communication that link organisms in forests, link organs in your body. You contain multitudes, ecosystems of bacteria, networks of cells, communities of systems, all somehow unified into the experience of being you. Living in this understanding, you might find yourself more patient with your imperfections. Of course, the system sometimes struggles. It's astonishingly complex. Of course, there are glitches and difficulties. Integration across so many levels is challenging. The wonder is not that problems arise, but that the system functions as well as it does most of the time. You might also find yourself more curious about your experience. What is this bodily sensation trying to tell me? How does this thought affect my physical state? What happens when I breathe more slowly? The exploration never ends because the system never stops generating experience. Every moment offers an opportunity to notice, to learn, to discover something new about how you work. And perhaps you'll find yourself more appreciative, grateful for this body that carries you through the world, for this brain that makes sense of experience, for this integrated system that somehow creates consciousness. Gratitude itself, research suggests, benefits the whole system, calming stress responses and enhancing well-being. Even gratitude for being an embodied being flows through the brain-body pathways we've explored. As we come to the end of tonight's journey, let yourself simply rest in awareness of your integrated being. Notice your breath, flowing in and out without effort. Feel your heartbeat, steady rhythm, connecting brain and body. Sense your body's position in space, the contact of skin with surface. Notice any emotions present and where in your body you feel them. All of this is you. All of this is one thing, seamlessly integrated. The revolution in understanding the brain-body connection isn't finished. New discoveries emerge regularly, revealing ever more intricate pathways and mechanisms. But the fundamental insight is already clear and unlikely to change. You are an integrated system. Mind and body are not separate. They are one thing, experienced from different perspectives, unified in every moment of your existence. May this understanding serve you well. May it help you care for yourself with greater wisdom. May it inform your choices, guide your healing, and deepen your appreciation for the extraordinary system you are. May it remind you that you are not alone in this body. You are this body, and it is always with you, always communicating, always worthy of your attention and care. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the brain-body connection. If you found value in tonight's journey through psychology and neuroscience, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the Mind Whisper channel for more deep explorations into the mysteries of mind and body. Feel free to share your thoughts, experiences, or questions in the comments below. Your reflections and insights enrich this community of curious minds. Until next time, treat yourself with kindness. Listen to your body, honor your integration, and remember that in caring for your body, you care for your mind. In caring for your mind, you care for your body. They are one, as they have always been, as you have always been. Sleep well, rest deeply, and good night.